I'm Trish.
And I'm Brandy.
And you're listening to episode 6 of Connected Conversations.
This is your space where international teachers, school leaders, and parents like us get together for real talk, real tips, and real conversations that go beyond the glossy brochures of international education.
Between us, we've taught and led in schools across 4 continents, 8 countries, and a bunch of different types of schools.
And today's episode is not just for educators. It's also for parents who want to understand what's behind the teaching and learning happening in international schools, especially if you're in need of one due to a family move.
And if you've ever wondered, what are the main international curricula and approaches, and which one fits me, my teaching style, or my child's learning style best, then this episode is for you.
And as you can tell, this is going to be a big one that we'll keep on the big picture level. We've even put our hair up to minimize distractions so you can see the full landscape of your choices.
And our faces.
And then we'll go deep into each type of program in future episodes.
Today, you'll learn about the main features of each type of curriculum, where they're most common, why parents often choose one over the other, and what schools are generally looking for when hiring teachers for a particular curriculum style.
And we'll finish with a simple way to choose what's right for you. So whether you're job hunting as an educator or making parental decisions for your own child's future education, let's dive in and let's get connected.
Before we jump into each curriculum, let's pause for a moment because we're going to mention some approaches and philosophies along the way today. These are not curriculums per se. These are philosophical approaches to learning, and they generally apply to early years or primary education. Words like Montessori, Reggio Emilia, Waldorf, and project-based learning all fall into this category. If you've never heard of these terms or just need a quick refresher, here's your breakdown.
Okay, let's start with Montessori. Founded in 1907 in Italy, Montessori-style education is a hands-on, self-directed learning approach where kids often work in mixed-aged classrooms. They choose carefully from prepared materials that build independence, focus, and problem-solving skills. Parents usually appreciate Montessori because it's typically very calm and the independence that students build is very appreciated, especially with the lack of grading focus as well.
That's right. Okay. Next is Waldorf or Steiner education. This dates back to 1919 Germany, and it focuses on imagination, storytelling, rhythm, and the arts, often emphasizing a slower start to formal academics and increased use of natural materials. So parents are often drawn to this for the creativity focus and the reduced screen time that the Waldorf philosophy promotes, especially in the early years.
The Reggio Emilia learning style dates back to the late 1940s Italy and is a creative, collaborative approach focused on child-led inquiry. It encourages artistic expression and views the natural environment as the third teacher in learning. Parents appreciate Reggio Emilia for its creativity and focus on the social-emotional development of their children.
And while most of these 3 are styles generally in the early years in primary, project-based learning, often called PBL, was popularized in the 1980s and 90s in the United States and can span across all curriculum stages. PBL is all about students working on diverse projects that combine different subjects together, often ending in some big final product or presentation or some big event. And this type of learning, project-based learning, is really popular with schools and parents for developing creativity and problem-solving skills, which can be applied to a variety of different real-world scenarios.
Definitely. So we're explaining these now because in international schools, you'll often see some kind of blend. A school might follow a formal curriculum like IB or British, but then they'll weave in Montessori principles in the early years, or they could use Waldorf in primary and then later incorporate project-based learning through the IB program in upper grades.
Now let's move on to the meat of today's podcast, a quick breakdown of the different types of curriculum you'll encounter in the international setting. These will be on the website, you'll encounter them on the brochures, and they'll be pasted all across the job advertisements you're looking at right now.
It's helpful to know the basic differences between each, and we're going to examine them in regards to 3 main factors. Number 1, the terms and programs associated with each curriculum we mentioned.
Number 2, the reason why parents often choose a specific curriculum or what the marketing pitch wants them to believe.
And number 3, the requirements that schools need or they want for educators wanting to teach there.
Okay, please note, we have specifically chosen to discuss these curriculums in the order of like their founding age, not in the order of popularity or country focus, really. As Brandy and I have mentioned before, we've taught in a variety of these programs and we can see the benefits and the drawbacks to many of them.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the most popular systems,
let's say the IB, may not be the best fit for your personal career journey or for your child's academic abilities or future goals.
Exactly. I can speak to that as a parent with personal experience. We are providing this info today to help you make the best, most informed decisions through comparison based on your styles and your needs, not based on marketing tactics or global trends.
So if you have any further questions or you wish to go deeper into any of these ideas, which we will do in future episodes, head over to our website, connectedglobal.org, and book a personal consultation with Trish and I, where we can help you weigh the pros and cons and whatever might be the best fit for you given your current experience or situation.
Awesome. First, let's jump into British style curriculum, which for this overview will encompass a large set of language and testing terms you'll see, such as a national curriculum or various key stages. And this all builds into the testing years in the high school, which includes IGCSEs and A levels. According to our research, British style curriculum is used in about 35% of all international schools, especially in Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Europe, and specifically in previously colonized countries.
Yes. In the early years, British schools follow the EYFS framework. That's Early Years Foundation Stage. And this stage is play-based. It's hands-on, and it often looks a lot like Montessori or Reggio-inspired environments. You'll see outdoor learning, you'll see sensory play, and themed corners inside a classroom. And these all encourage social and communication skills before formal academics kick in. This is currently where I'm working as I lead our school staff to develop curriculum across the early years into key stages 1 and 2 in primary.
Right. And as students move up into the middle school, they enter key stage 3 and 4. And some British curriculum schools will stick to a variety and a very traditional approach, following the UK exam years and A-level subjects as they come along in the progression, while other schools integrate thematic learning, perhaps, or even incorporate the International Primary Curriculum or IPC units alongside the core curriculum.
Absolutely. So families often choose the British curriculum for its clear progression and strong alignment with the UK, EU, and Commonwealth universities. It's respected for its academic rigor and internationally recognized standardized exams.
And British curriculum-based schools often advertise for teachers with UK Qualified Teacher Status, or QTS as it's known. But this can easily be obtained if you go on the uk.gov website and come from a country that has a recognized equivalency status. So America is one of those. So just upload your official documents online and wait 4 to 8 months and you'll receive QTS like I did. But go to that website, uk.gov website, to do it.
Definitely. The British curriculum experience is often preferred because it's important come the British schools overseas inspection time. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to work in these schools if you are not British or a Commonwealth national. We're both working in one now.
Exactly. One thing to note for parents enrolling their students into a British curriculum abroad is that the jump from Key Stage 3 into IGCSE years can be quite a shock for students. That's going from like year 10 to year 11, or roughly grade 9 to grade 10 in the US, which is the teaching age range where I have been for the bulk of my 25 years of teaching. I've seen firsthand how the workload and exam prep ramps up really quickly, and students who coasted through earlier years often have to adjust their study habits pretty fast. And this can be really stressful for both students and for their parents. Something to know.
Luckily, there are schools who facilitate this smooth transition, though, with extra support or by spacing out exam prep. However, in more traditional British schools, that exam focus is intense and it's constant. It's really important that international expats are aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Somewhat similar to British curriculum schools are schools that advertise using the Cambridge curriculum, or CAIE, which is our next curriculum spotlight.
The CAIE refers to Cambridge Assessment International Education, covering primary through A-level years, and it's well known for its strong, clearly defined assessment standards.
Cambridge curriculum is used in over 160 countries with especially strong growth in Asia. Parents appreciate its reliability and the constant checkpoint testing and international recognition related to benchmark Cambridge exams.
Right, and this is not to be confused with Cambridge language proficiency exams that you would encounter in the TEFL world. Mm-hmm. Cambridge curriculum schools generally advertise for teachers with a recognized valid degree, a teaching qualification, and ideally some familiarity with the Cambridge curriculum standards. But many offer in-house or online training if you're otherwise a good fit for them, so there's still hope to get into these.
Right. In the early years, Cambridge International Primary focuses on core literacy, numeracy, and science skills, but there's room for creative inquiry-based activities. Many Cambridge primary classrooms borrow from Montessori or project-based learning ideas to help engage learning before the heavy exam prep of later years.
Right. Cambridge curriculum is very exam-driven, and there are frequent checkpoints and clear benchmarks that should be met. And this can make some students and teachers feel like they're constantly preparing for assessments.
On the other hand, these frequent checkpoints can be a relief and something that put some parents' minds really at ease, making it a strong choice for the 10,000 plus schools that have it listed as their international schools curriculum.
And one insider note here, teachers sometimes comment that in Cambridge curriculum schools, the term teaching to the test isn't necessarily negative. If the exams are clearly defined and clearly the end goal, so much of the school year is geared towards ensuring students perform well in those very specific formats. For some students, that's motivating. For others, it can feel repetitive.
And for educators, only you can really know if having these end goal tests, which measure your students' progress and outcomes, and in some ways then measure your teaching success, is something that supports your style of teaching or not.
And for parents, only you really know your own child, and if a classroom setting that has frequent tests, some of which build up to high stakes, is one that best supports the learning capabilities of your child.
Another curriculum type you may see advertised in international schools is the International Primary Curriculum, or IPC.
The IPC was launched in the United Kingdom in 2000. It's designated for children aged 5 to 11, and it focuses on thematic cross-curricular learning with a strong global perspective. Each unit is built around a big idea that connects subjects like science, history, geography, and the arts while still mapping to clear learning goals.
The IPC is currently used in over 1,000 schools across more than 90 countries abroad. It's especially popular in schools with highly mobile expatriate families because it blends academic structure with engaging, connected themes, and parents are drawn to it because it promises both academic progression and global-mindedness.
Which is great. Schools that offer the IPC usually want teachers who have a recognized degree, a formal teaching qualification, and an understanding of inquiry-based or thematic learning approaches. Direct IPC experience is definitely a plus, but many schools provide in-house training for the right candidate since the framework has its own planning and assessment style.
In the classroom, IPC units might have children researching a variety of things that can look quite creative and collaborative compared to more rigid curricula.
But one key difference from something like the Cambridge curriculum is that IPC is less exam-driven. Assessment is still part of the process, of course, but it's often based on ongoing evidence of learning rather than the big high-stakes exams.
That's right. And for parents, this can be a huge selling point. I mean, children get a rich, connected education without constant pressure from external exams, formal exams, but still they follow a structured progression of learning.
And for teachers, IPC can feel like a welcome blend. Enough structure to guide your planning, but enough flexibility to weave in creativity, projects, and hands-on learning. Of course, that flexibility also means you need to be comfortable designing and adapting lessons to make sure that all of the learning goals are met.
Now let's transition to a bit more ambiguous of curriculums, schools that advertise using the U.S. curriculum. Brandy and I have both multiple years of experience with this curriculum, as you learned in episode 1.
And we say it's ambiguous because if you're from America like us, you'll know that there is no one national curriculum, as there are multiple that are state or region specific.
Yep. When mentioning U.S. curriculum abroad, schools are generally referring to Common Core frameworks, which includes advanced placement or AP courses for university credit and SAT, ACT college entrance exam prep.
And in the early years, U.S.-style schools often follow a blend of state early childhood standards and creative curriculum models with lots of thematic units, learning centers, and project work. This often feels similar to the IPC or International Primary Curriculum or Reggio Emilia in the way that it emphasizes exploration and the whole child development before the formal testing begins.
Right. U.S. curriculum is a common referenced curriculum in Latin America, Asia, and the Middle East. Parents like the flexibility, the broad subject choice, and the college credit potential of AP courses. There's even the possibility of now earning an AP diploma if you take multiple university subjects in your last years. So this, of course, can lighten the tuition load, especially if you are a parent sending your kid off to an expensive American stateside university afterwards.
Yeah, great point. U.S. curriculum schools often advertise for teachers with a U.S. state teaching license and some kind of Common Core curriculum understanding or experience.
So if you want to be an advanced placement teacher in the last few years of high school years, you will likely need an additional College Board endorsed training on your certificate. This is where I started out when I was first teaching in Washington State in 2002.
When you met me.
That's right.
One thing parents and teachers often notice in the U.S. curriculum schools is that learning and grading can feel more continuous than in the British or Cambridge systems. There's less emphasis on one big final exam and more on coursework, participation, and smaller assignments along the way.
That's right. And on the flip side of this, of course, is that academic rigor can vary widely between schools.
Yeah.
And with no standardized benchmark test to measure yourself against the other schools, this means that a U.S. diploma from one school can mean something very different from a U.S. diploma at another school.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's why it's vital to look at each school's accreditation certificates. Generally, this is listed on their websites. And also, take a look at the AP offerings and posted test scores that they announce in order to help you gauge the potential academic strength of the school that you're considering.
Now, we've got 2 more curriculum types that we're going to break down here, and they're definitely going to help you even fully understand your choices, whether either applying abroad or moving your family to a new school abroad. So number 5 type of curriculum is perhaps obvious. These are national curricula schools, and these include all of the other country curricula that have set up a school for their own expats in another country. For example, here in the Czech Republic, you have a huge range of Czech national curriculum schools to choose from, but there are also French, German, and Italian curriculum schools that you can choose in Prague.
Yep, and there's also Canadian and Australian curriculum schools in some countries too. I've personally worked a handful of years at a bilingual school which blended the Czech national curriculum with Canadian. And I actually got to snag Trisha during one of her transitions and recommended her to that school later.
Yeah, where I spent a COVID year doing maternity primary vice principal cover duty. It pays to be well connected.
Yes, each of these national curricula schools adapt their home country standards to fit the international context and setting. They're found worldwide, but especially in Europe, Francophone Africa, and Asia. Parents often choose them for continuity and the national diplomas, especially if moving home, wherever that may be, is your end goal.
That's right. And each of these schools needs qualified teachers, obviously. So in these cases, the teacher requirements often match your home system. CAPES for France, Ontario certification for Canada, state registration for Australia, and so on and so on.
The teaching approach varies by country, of course. French schools often lean toward formal academics, while Australian and Canadian schools may include more inquiry-based or project learning into their mix. If you know your country's home style of teaching, you can expect much of the same of that of these national curricula schools abroad.
That's right. And in the early years, these systems often mirror the home country approach. For example, French maternelle has a more structured, teacher-led style, where Canadian and Australian early years lean more towards play-based and inquiry learning.
Right.
If you're moving abroad with a young child, these differences can feel quite significant day to day.
Definitely. Many schools offer multiple curricula as well. For example, the International Baccalaureate, or IB, alongside a national program. These national systems can also serve as an alternate pathway for students who might find the full IB diploma too intense, or they might just simply prefer a different style of learning and assessment.
Yep. Parents and teachers have frequently shared that national curricula abroad can be a double-edged sword. They give students a sense of cultural identity and alignment with their home country, but they can also make it harder to transition into a different system if the family later moves again.
All of this leads us to our final type of curriculum we're going to explore today. The one that you'll likely hear most about or see the most marketing done for in the international sphere, the International Baccalaureate, or the IB curriculum.
That's right. I've taught multiple subjects in the IB middle years and diploma years in 3 different countries and been an examiner for the IB for nearly a decade now. I long ago drank the IB Kool-Aid and I personally loved teaching in it. But I also see its potential limitations, which we want you to know about as a parent and an educator.
Definitely. The IB, though, it dates back all the way to 1968 in Switzerland, and it's an inquiry-based, globally standardized, and highly transferable program. It encompasses 4 sub-programs. The primary years, which is known as the PYP, the middle years, or the MYP, the diploma years, or DP, and the careers program, or CP. It's taught in over 5,900 schools across over 160 countries worldwide, and this is making it the most transferable system, one of the most transferable systems, I should say, in the world. And the 3 working languages of the IB World Schools are French, English, and Spanish, with the majority of schools being English World Schools.
You'll find IB schools everywhere and more coming online every day, especially in China and in the Middle East. Parents love IB because it's holistic, rigorous, and recognized by universities around the world. So when we say rigorous, we mean it. Okay, especially at the diploma level, where students take 6 subjects, complete an extended essay, they tackle a theory of knowledge course, an essay, and participate in something known as creativity, activity, and service projects, so CAS. And this CAS piece requires ongoing extracurricular commitments and time and so much reflection, which adds a whole new dimension to the workload. I've seen the best and brightest students flame out under the pressure of the IBDP. So parents really need to be aware of the intense workload pressures that this brings to students who may be interested in other things like sports or something beyond course offerings in school.
Yeah, that level of workload, it can be hard, but it can also be fantastic for motivated, organized students. But as Trisha said, it can be overwhelming for others. Remember, these kids, they're only 17 or 18. In fact, many IB schools, they offer a second pathway like A-levels or a U.S. high school diploma or certificate only route. And that's for the students who choose not to take the full IB diploma, or they discover that it's just not the right fit once they start. And parents should be aware that this is totally okay, and your child will still get into a university.
They really, really will. And I'm passionate about this because this is my family story. We'll go into that in a future episode, but suffice it to say that teaching in the DP and supporting your own child going through the DP are 2 very, very different things. And I'm really glad that we moved my son over to the certificate option so he could explore his other interests and talents that were totally non-school related.
But in the early years, the IB's primary years program, or PYP, is very different from the exam-heavy reputation of the diploma years. The PYP is inquiry-driven, transdisciplinary, and often feels closer to Montessori or Reggio Emilia styles in the way that it encourages curiosity, play, and thematic exploration. Teachers guide students to ask questions and explore big ideas rather than teaching rigid subject blocks.
That's right. And in order to get into an IB school as a teacher, you'll likely see in the schools asking for IB training because they save money up front if you come to them with recent training done.
Cool.
However, if they are willing to give you an opportunity and a chance, and sometimes they do, they should send you to training within the first 6 months to a year, because IB schools are regularly inspected and teachers must have the correct qualifications to show program understanding.
Yeah, that makes sense. The philosophy here is all about inquiry and concept-based learning. In the diploma program, you'll see critical thinking, extended essays, and service learning at the center, while the early years focuses on building those inquiry habits through play and hands-on activities and collaborative projects. And this is what parents frequently enjoy most and respect mostly about this curriculum.
And many IB schools add in their own twist, like Reggio-inspired environments in early years or project-based learning next to the national curriculum of the country in the secondary, such as my own Czech boarding school that ran the Czech national curriculum throughout, but then ended high school with not only Czech Maturita exams, but in tandem, there was a stream of students taking the IBDP 2-year program, and they took those exams as well. So it was a really heavy end test for them, but they did it and they survived and they're amazing. Students can also take a literature class in their mother tongue and get potentially an IB bilingual diploma, which opens up even more doors at the university entrance level.
The key thing is, no matter how schools adapt the IB program to their local context, the end assessment window and program structure always remain the same globally, which is something that has obvious broad-reaching appeal.
Now, we've walked through each of the 6 types of curriculum and the philosophical approaches you might see alongside of them. Now it's time to summarize it all, and let's discuss how to figure out which one actually fits you best, whether you're a teacher looking for your next role or a parent deciding on which school is right for your child.
Exactly. Let's start with teachers. Your first step is to ask yourself whether you thrive in open-ended, inquiry-driven environments, and you might enjoy planning longer, ongoing activities. Or maybe you prefer a clearly defined structure with set exams and a more scripted set of skills and guidelines to follow.
If you love those open-ended collaborative projects with student-led questions, then concept-based learning or IB, IPC, they could all be energizing for you, especially if you like weaving subjects together under big umbrella themes. This is the cross-curricular approach.
But if you prefer step-by-step progression, and that's totally okay, and very clear end goals or exam goals, the British or Cambridge curriculum might be your comfort zone. And that structure can be reassuring for both you and your students.
If you're a U.S. certified teacher and enjoy flexibility, electives, and continuous assessment, U.S. curriculum schools will feel familiar, of course. And if you're trained in a national system like French, German, Canadian, or Australian, you might be a strong fit for these programs abroad, too, especially if you want to teach in your native language and maintain your home country standards for potential future reintegration when you go back home.
And if you're an early years teacher, think about what lights you up. If you enjoy setting up open-ended activities that promote child-led exploration, you might love Montessori or Reggio Emilia or inquiry-based, the PYP classrooms. If you're passionate about arts, rhythm, and holistic development, Waldorf could be your niche. And if you like hands-on building, design, and problem solving, project-based approaches can be a great match for you.
Now, let's flip it for the parents like us, okay? Start by knowing your child and their active learning style, their personality, and their long-term goals. Maybe they can be your goals, as their parent, but maybe their goals too, especially if your student's a little older. What you see at home from your student is often what we as their teachers see.
Definitely. If your young child thrives on curiosity, discussion, and making connections across subjects, the IB's PYP, or the International Primary Curriculum, ICP, might be incredibly engaging.
But if you see your child responds best with clear expectations, well-defined milestones, and is capable of studying towards an assessment, then a program that offers a more structured marks and grading system, such as British or Cambridge, might be the right fit for you, especially at the primary level.
Yeah. As your child ages and moves on into the middle years in secondary school, you'll likely see them develop more independence and enjoy choice flexibility, which is where knowing the broad subject choice and extracurricular opportunities at your potential school becomes even more important. A U.S. curriculum school can offer that. It can give that balance between classrooms and extracurricular, especially if AP courses are available in the upper years.
And then, if you know your family's time abroad will be short and you want your child to stay aligned to your home country's education system for an easier return back, do consider finding a school that offers your national curriculum, French, German, Canadian, Australian, or any other, so that they can just easily slot your child back in without a gap. I know it was personally challenging for my 5th grade son to go from a Czech primary curriculum to the IB middle years program because he hadn't had any of the terminology, none of the foundation or the open-ended style of project work here in the Czech Republic that the MYP asked of him when we moved to China. It added even a more difficult layer to an already intense cultural move.
Well, it sounds hard. And if you've got a young child in the early years, think about what kind of start do you want for them? Do you want child-led and exploratory? That'll be Montessori, Reggio, or PYP. Do you want structured and skills-focused? Think French maternelle or the EYFS from the British curriculum. Arts and imagination driven, you're going to be going towards Waldorf. Or maybe you want a real-world hands-on start. For that, you're going to be looking at project-based learning as a good choice.
Yeah. And for both teachers and parents, mobility matters. If you expect to move every few years, IB and Cambridge offer the most consistency and likely the most availability from country to country. Although this consistency issue may not be as necessary when considering your younger students, it becomes really crucial when considering middle school and above. I cannot say this enough as a parent to a son who was in 8th grade MYP in China when COVID hit. And then we had to unexpectedly transition back to Czech Republic. And then we had 3 countries, 3 different school curriculum programs over the next 2 years. He survived. He thrived eventually, but it took an extra strain that we really did not need during that stressful time.
Yeah, that sounds very hard. And I remember those years being tough for all of us. And this just highlights how qualifications matter for teachers and for parents. School accreditation should matter just as much. And we'll dive into these in future episodes, but for now, just know that the right fit for you and your family will depend not just on the curriculum, but also how the school delivers it. Make sure to look at the curriculum accreditation that's attached to the school.
And because at the end of the day, schools can offer the same great curriculum, but a school really is only as good as the leadership at the helm, the quality and expertise of the staff there, and the various support systems that the school has in place for both you and your child. That's why there is so much school competition in the international realm out there, because investors open a new school when they believe they can create something even more special than the one down the street.
So if you're feeling like you need to take a nap after all of that, you're not alone. We covered a lot. This was our overview of the 6 major curricula: the British, Cambridge, IPC, US, other national systems, and the IB. Plus, we covered the Montessori, Reggio Emilia, Waldorf, IPC, and project-based learning philosophies.
We looked at what they're known for, where they're used, why parents pick them, and what schools expect from teachers.
And remember, there's no single best option, just the best fit for your goals and context.
It's kind of like shoes. You can admire someone else's sparkly pair from afar, but if they give you blisters, they're not for you.
No. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you for sticking around. We know your time is limited and your tabs are definitely many.
You can grab our Curricula and Approaches guide from the show notes down below or at our website, connectedglobal.org.
And while you're over there, check out our other resources like visa checklists, school comparison tools, and our questions for parents or educators to ask when considering a school, as well as lots of other goodies.
And don't forget, there's That's also the place where you can book a personal consultation with us. We can chat about the curricula and approaches we covered today, or dive into any other topics, questions, or options that you're considering in your international teaching journey or school journey ahead.
Definitely. And we'd love to know which curriculum or approach you want us to deep dive into next. Drop your ideas in the comments
down below. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or take the time and leave us a review. It helps us find more people and join the conversation.
So until next time, may your contracts be clear,
your school Wi-Fi be strong,
and your coffee be fair trade
and international.
I don't know if I can look at a kangaroo. Okay?
Okay, ready? Go.
Stop.
So what if we did it, let's just, because I kind of liked not seeing us.
Really? My tail was itching so bad.
Really?
Yeah.
That was great.
Cheers.
I mean, really.
It was recording, right?
Oh, yeah. Bye.